After the audition, Gilbert Jr. and the two producers had a small meeting behind closed doors. Charles Rowan still made it clear that he was against Keanu Reeves playing the lead actor Jack. His reasoning is that Keanu Reeves can't always guarantee that he is in good shape. I heard that he has a history of drug addiction, and he is good friends with Ryan Phoenix and Johnny Depp, and these two are well known in Hollywood. Charles Rowan said. Ryan Phoenix is known as a talented actor, and he is also known for his unabashedly chaotic private life. Johnny Depp has gradually stepped into the first-line position since Edward Scissorhands, but his weird dress and personality are also unbearable. No matter how dirty Hollywood is inside, full of all sorts of gray and black deals, insider and other things. But a basic consensus is that everyone still has to work together to maintain the glamour of Hollywood, and they still have to pretend to be a good person in front of the public. But Ryan Phoenix and Johnny Depp are the kind of people who don't pretend to be the kind of people who show the dirty side of Hollywood to the public. The current North American society is not a few decades later, although influenced by hippie culture. The entire North American society still tends to be conservative on the surface. Now you tell the public that the movie star they like is actually a grumpy, addict, XP weird, and silver-loving person in private. How can you make the public accept it? Fortunately, the media is now controlled by large media capital, and as long as it is valuable, then the media will not report scandals about Hollywood stars. If one day you lose your value or offend a media group, just wait. All kinds of tabloids keep exposing your black material, and the mainstream media keeps criticizing you until your reputation is stinky and ruined. Even if you have 18 mouths, you can't say a word to defend yourself, and even if you don't do it, you will do it. Michael Jackson and Tom Cruise, who were in their previous lives, are examples of being manipulated by the media. As a person who has experienced the era of online self-media, Gilbert Jr. has a clear understanding of the nature of media. In this day and age, it is important to control the power to speak. Who controls the power to speak? Disney and Time Warner behind Warner are both large media groups that control the power to speak. You either become one of them or come yourself. However, it was more difficult to come on his own, and little Gilbert decided to become one of them first, and then come on his own. After all, the situation is changing a bit quickly, and he doesn't want to say good things about a black mermaid in a few decades, or put on a list of some islands, which will disgust him. Solving the problem of Keanu Reeves is also very simple, Gilbert Jr. said. In this way, when signing an actor's contract, it is directly stipulated that you can't drink alcohol, can't smoke *marijuana, and don't mess around. If the actor agrees, it's easy to say, and if he doesn't agree, change it. Little Gilbert said so, and Charles Rowan couldn't object anymore. 2 days later, the crew officially negotiated the actor contract with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock at the same time. Sandra Bullock is easier to say. After all, there is nothing bad about it. Although he is famous, the salary is not high, and the salary of $200,000 can be easily won. It's Keanu Reeves's side that is more troublesome, and the requirements on the actor's contract make him a little unacceptable. This? Keanu Reeves asked, pointing to a few clauses in the contract. Can you change it? Kane Waxman, the producer, in charge of negotiating the contract, shook his head and said, I'm afraid it won't work. This is what director Gilbert Jr. requested. Charles Rowan on the side smiled a bit like the villain in the movie. If you don't agree, you cannot sign. We can change the candidate as soon as possible. Hearing that he was going to be replaced, Keanu Reeves did not hesitate to sign his name on the actor's contract. The second half of Charles Rowan was still in his throat, and Keanu Reeves finished signing. He was surprised and asked, You can do all of this? Keanu Reeves nodded affirmatively. Of course, I can do it. Charles Rowan looked disappointed. His Tom Cruise is gone. Why is this Keanu Reeves so happy? In fact, this has something to do with little Gilbert, and after the meeting is over, he asks his assistant Anna to release the news. Keanu Reeves was pleased with his audition performance, but his private life and drug addiction history made him a little worried. If Keanu Reeves can't change it, then he plans to recast the actor. The words reached Keanu Reeves' agent and Riven Phoenix, Johnny Depp's ears. Keanu Reeves is nothing, but the people around him are in a hurry. The agent bitterly persuaded Keanu Reeves to quit drinking, drugs, and hemp, and win the role first. As for Riven Phoenix and Johnny Depp, they did even better. In order for good friends to get the role, when the three of them went to the bar to drink together, Riven Phoenix and Johnny Depp actually ordered lemonade. The usual liquor and cigarettes were gone, and Keanu Reeves was uncomfortable. The two friends were also uncomfortable, but Riven Phoenix said, "Keanu, you go to film seriously, and when you shoot, we will accompany you until you quit." That's right. Johnny Depp also said, "When you're done filming, let's make a big one together and have a party. It's all beautiful women." The Good brothers are so dedicated, and Keanu Reeves is also moved. For the sake of the Good brothers, Keanu Reeves is determined to win the role. So when he was talking about the actor's contract, he just struggled for a while, and when he saw that there was no hope of changing, he signed it directly. Keanu Reeves is ready. How could he possibly give up the opportunity to someone else? Wouldn't that let down the two Good brothers? The actors successfully joined the group, but it was far from the time when filming started. Because this play requires a lot of physical strength, and some action scenes require Keanu Reeves to go into battle himself, so he still needs to train. To this end, Gilbert Jr. also specially invited experts from the Los Angeles Police Department as consultants for the crew. Tactical maneuvers, specialized policing terminology, and more are trained by police department specialists. The Los Angeles Police Department thought it was a good promotion of the image of the local police, so it sent the most competent people to assist the crew in filming. Not only that, but he also lent his newly completed police headquarters to the crew for filming, providing all kinds of police equipment, including police helicopters, except for fuel. Of course, little Gilbert would not refuse, took a few cordial and friendly photos with the Los Angeles Police Commissioner, and invited them to attend the premiere of the film at that time. This is also a favorable publicity point when the film is promoted. The other job is advertising tenders, which are not uncommon to insert advertisements into films. Hamilton sponsored $200,000, and the film's male lead, Jack, will wear Hamilton's latest mechanical watch. The costumes of all the characters in the film were provided free of charge by a local clothing agency in Los Angeles. In order to make the name of his clothing agent appear in the film, he sponsored another $100,000. The Los Angeles Bus Operating Company provided several buses that were about to be scrapped for the crew and sponsored an additional $50,000. Other advertising revenues such as shoes and sunglasses also added up to $250,000. Before the film even started, it had already generated $600,000 in advertising revenue, enough for the crew to pay Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. And that's not the end of the story. If the film does well at the box office, these sponsors will reward an extra sum of money. Will the film be a success? Others didn't have that confidence, but little Gilbert was full of confidence. Director: "Hey, little Gilbert, there's something you can help me with." Gilbert Jr., who was busy with his preparations, received a call from Francis Coppola. "What's the matter, you say?" "That's right, my daughter Sofia Coppola. She wants to be a director. I asked her to come and learn from you." Francis Coppola explains why. "Yes, of course, but Director Coppola?" "Just call me Uncle." Uncle Coppola." Little Gilbert had a question. "With your uncle's connections, you can let Sophie learn from a better director. or let her direct independently. Why, do you want Sofia to learn from me? Francis Coppola didn't hide it. She followed David as an executive director in Alien 3 before, but she came back and said that she couldn't learn anything. She has acted herself, but the film critics scolded her badly, and the film critics' mouths were very vicious, and she knew it. When Sofia Coppola starred in The Godfather 3, she won the Golden Sour Plum Worst Supporting Actress and Worst Newcomer awards. That's right, other film critics won't show mercy to Sofia for the sake of director Coppola's daughter. Hollywood in the 90s was still a place for men in the final analysis, with Paramount CEO Shirley Lansing and director Catherine Byrog, all of whom belong to the sky. But not all women can break into Hollywood like these two strong women. Francis Coppola added, "Originally, I wanted to introduce her to Paris and become a fashion designer in the future. But she did it for a few months and then ran back from Paris, still wanting to make a movie. I thought there was more to talk about among you young people, so I introduced her to you. No problem, you can let her come at any time, I'm welcome." Little Gilbert smiled. "Uncle Coppola is helping me solve big troubles, and the crew is short of people." "Ha ha ha, okay, then I'll let her go to you." "Okay, just call me then." Within a few days, little Gilbert received a phone call, and a thick nasal voice came from the phone. "Are you Director Gilbert Landrini Jr.? "Yes, I am." "I'm Sofia Coppola, and my dad introduced me," said in a thick nasal voice. "It's Miss Coppola." "Okay, I'll have the assistant pick you up right away," little Gilbert said, arranging for assistant Anna to pick up Sofia Coppola. Soon, Sofia Coppola came to little Gilbert's office. It may be that the blow has been a bit big in recent years, and Sofia Coppola does not have the arrogance of the daughter of a great director at all. "You're little Gilbert?" "Hello, my name is Sofia Coppola." "Hello, Miss Coppola." Gilbert Jr. shakes hands with Sofia Coppola. "Just call me Sofia." Sofia Coppola's thick nasal voice made little Gilbert unaccustomed to hearing for a while. "My father said that I can learn from you. Please take care of me." "Okay," little Gilbert agreed. "You can stay with me for the time being and become an assistant director." "Okay." Sofia Coppola didn't have an opinion and agreed directly. The weather in Los Angeles is cooler in December, and the climate in Los Angeles is undoubtedly much milder than in New York, which has an unbearable cold winter. Even in winter, you only need to add a sweater and a jacket to solve the problem of keeping warm. If you really can't, you can also wear thermal underwear and definitely won't feel cold. The Grim Reaper is Coming finally ended its days in North American theaters and finally harvested more than $1 million at the box office, ending its theatrical journey with $63.025 million. This achievement, in the North American market in 1992, was able to rank 8th, which is really amazing. But there is no fuss. The famous sci-fi movie, Alien 3, and superstar Tom Cruise's Earth Ambition are all ranked behind The Grim Reaper. The Los Angeles Times gave little Gilbert a nickname called the Little Prince of horror films. And Sarah, a reporter for the Los Angeles Business Daily, interviewed little Gilbert again and learned that the next film of the Little Prince of Horror is an action movie. The news spread and made fans of the horror Little Prince a little worried. The horror movie is well made. What's wrong with this Little Prince? Is it actually an action movie that you are not good at? And I heard that the starring role is Keanu Reeves. Although he is handsome, he has nothing to do with action movies. Fans are worried. Anyway, the film has already been established, and the filming will be over. The Grim Reaper is Coming, which ranks 8th on the box office list, is not safe, because there are still many films being released, and the box office accumulation is also very fast. For example, Disney's own release of Aladdin, as well as 20th Century Fox's Home Alone 2, and Keanu Reeves as the second male protagonist for 100 Years of Vampire Zombie Horror and other films. Fortunately, the contract signed by Life and Death and Keanu Reeves is relatively fast, and if it is signed when 400 Years of Vampire Zombie Horror is released, it is estimated that the salary will increase. With these films released, it is estimated that the ranking of The Grim Reaper will drop by 1 drop, but it should not fall out of the top 20. In addition, the film's overseas screening is also coming to an end, and the final global box office of $126 million has made Disney a lot of money. 2 consecutive thriller horror films have grossed more than $100 million, and it is no wonder that the Los Angeles Times gave Little Gilbert the title of a Little Prince of Horror. However, for Little Gilbert, in addition to focusing on the money that should be paid for the cake, the work on The Grim Reaper is over. Next, Gilbert Jr. will make every effort to make Life and Death, which is his credential for breaking into the mainstream film market in North America. On December 12th, The Speed of Life and Death began filming at Warner Studios. No nonsense, no superfluous movements. Little Gilbert blew up as soon as he came up, and it blew upside down. A film, especially a high-investment film, is a big battle, and the most tiring thing in the whole process is undoubtedly the screenwriter, producer, and director. The script has long been set, and it will not be easily changed without special circumstances, but as a director, Little Gilbert has to coordinate the filming of the entire crew. Fortunately, the 2 producers, Charles Rowan and Kane Waxman, are capable enough, and the assistant director and Burton and the new Sofia Coppola are mostly excellent talents who understand the film business. Little Gilbert only needs to control the general direction, and after some details are discussed and decided, let his subordinates do it. If he had done everything himself, Little Gilbert would have to die of exhaustion. After the exercise of 2 movies, it also gave Little Gilbert, the startup team, a tacit understanding. But despite this, the crew still needs some run-in period. In the first week, Little Gilbert did not shoot the scenes of several main actors, and it was not good to use the leading actor to run in the crew, and the leading actor also had a temper. So Little Gilbert filmed all the scenes of extras, which were used to run in the crew. Nothing is smooth sailing, so Little Gilbert needs to find problems, find contradictions, and then solve them in the run-in process. Fortunately, through 2 movies with a box office of over $100 million, he has initially established his personal prestige, and the crew has no thorns. Even Keanu Reeves is honest, so the initial shooting went quite smoothly. After more than a week of running in period, the crew of Life and Death gradually entered the state, and the filming progress also accelerated. Little Gilbert, it's early. Sofia Coppola arrived on the set and greeted Little Gilbert. After getting acquainted, Sofia Coppola directly called Little Gilbert's name. Little Gilbert noticed at a glance that Sofia Coppola was followed by the little girl and couldn't help but smile and ask, "Sofia, who is this little sweetheart?" Before Sofia Coppola could introduce you, the little girl took the initiative to stretch out her hand and said, "I'm not called Little Sweetheart. My name is Scarlett Johansson. You can call me Scarlett." Wow, Scarlett, hello. Gilbert Jr. shook Scarlett Johansson's tiny hand. Who knew that the little girl was not happy? "I am a princess, and I want to do a knightly salute." If it was a messy person, Little Gilbert would definitely not bother to take care of her, but such a cute little girl, Little Gilbert couldn't bear to refuse. "So I made a knightly ceremony to fulfill the little girl's princess dream." Sofia Coppola apologized. "I'm sorry, Little Gilbert. This is Aunt Sloane's daughter. The family had just moved to Los Angeles, and Aunt Sloane asked me to take care of them." "It's okay," Little Gilbert said. He looked at Scarlett Johansson again, who was looking around on the set, and smiled. "Scarlett, listen to Sister Sofia. Don't run around. It's dangerous on the set." "How dangerous is it?" The little girl was obviously unconvinced. Will it explode? Little Gilbert smiled mysteriously. Of course. The huge explosion of bang resounded throughout the set, and Scarlett Johansson, who had seen the working mode of a Hollywood crew for the first time, was completely stunned. The crew's brains are buzzing, and after little Gilbert decided to shoot the explosion scene, the crew was filled with this kind of sound every day, and they were all used to it. Sophia secretly complained to herself, a rookie who only exploded. That's right, in Sofia Coppola's eyes, little Gilbert is a rookie compared to her father. But now that this rookie is very popular, she has been abused by film critics, which makes Sophia unable to figure it out. She doesn't know what the selling point of Speed of Life and Death, which blows up all day long, and where is the selling point? Dad asked her to follow along. Did she learn how little Gilbert blew up props? I can't figure it out, but Sophia still does all her work dutifully and handles it in an orderly manner. Seeing Scarlett Johansson looking stunned, Sophia thought that the little girl was frightened. So she hurriedly comforted, "Scarlett, are you scared? Or I'll find someone to take you home first." Who knew that Scarlett Johansson, who reacted, actually clapped her hands excitedly. It's so exciting, Sister Sophia. Can you blow it up again? Sophia was speechless, not expecting the little girl to like to blow up, just like little Gilbert. Little Gilbert didn't have time to take care of the little girl. He took the horn and walkie-talkie and moved the crew around. Camera number 3 is on top. I need an overhead lens. Little Gilbert shouted to the gaffer again. Sam, you have a problem with lighting. The tone is colder. The color is too bright. Throwing the horn to the assistant director and Burton, Gilbert Jr. got on the bus in the middle of the set, and he told Sandra Bullock, who played the heroine, "Don't stare. Your facial lines are too hard, softer." Sandra Bullock quickly nodded, indicating that she understood. Little Gilbert said to the other improvised group performers in the bus, "You are not wooden people. Don't look expressionless. Make appropriate expressions." The group performers didn't dare to breathe and quickly said that they would perform well, and they didn't want to be replaced. Little Gilbert said to Naomi Watts again, "Naomi, you're doing well, but be a little restrained. You're stealing the show." Naomi Watts couldn't hide a smile in the corner of her eye. She was the only one to be complimented. As for Sandra Bullock's not-so-friendly gaze, she didn't care, as long as little Gilbert felt good. After the play, little Gilbert got off the bus and beckoned Durr Randolph over. "I need a camera to shoot from the perspective of the tires." Durr Randolph made it to the point. "I'll find someone to modify the..." "Right away." "Well..." Little Gilbert nodded and walked over to Keanu Reeves, who was resting on the sidelines, and crouched down to talk to him. "Keanu, I need you to put on a serious look. You're a cop, not a Chicago gangster, not a rock star, you know." Keanu Reeves just snorted, not knowing if he was listening. But Keanu Reeves has always been in this state when he came to the set. Fortunately, he didn't violate the rules and didn't drink or take drugs before coming to the crew. If that's the case, it's really difficult. In this type of film, the highlight is thrilling action scenes and explosion scenes, and the actors' performances are secondary. As long as the actor's performance meets the standard line of qualification, little Gilbert will not ask for more. The scene in the morning is over, and the scene changes in the afternoon, and the crew is going to shoot a bigger explosion scene. "Scarlett, blow up the house in the afternoon. Do you want to see it?" Little Gilbert asked as he ate lunch. The little girl, who had been itching for a long time, immediately nodded excitedly. I'm going. "Okay, I'll take you with me in the afternoon." Little Gilbert touched the little girl's head, and Scarlett slapped it away. "In the afternoon, I came to a small town on the edge of Los Angeles, and the crew had just found a single-family house that was about to be demolished." Little Gilbert walked around the house and said with satisfaction, "This location is good. Even if a tomahawk missile falls, it will not affect the surrounding houses. Far enough. Seeing the wiring of the pyrotechnic explosion team, Sofia Coppola asked curiously, "Little Gilbert, why don't you detonate it with a remote control, but use a wire to detonate it?" Sofia Coppola was killed by other Hollywood films. Not to mention Hollywood movies. Even Hong Kong Island movies have such a classic picture. The male protagonist pressed the remote control, and the explosion behind him exploded, and the flames soared, but the male protagonist did not look back at the explosion, leaving a chic figure. As the so-called real man never looks back at the explosion, but in reality, this is not the case. Gilbert Jr. explained, "Sophia, wireless remote control is not secure, and modern society will have a lot of communication interference. Under the signal interference of wireless remote control detonation mode, there is a danger of explosion at any time. Wire-controlled explosions are much safer. There is no risk of accidental explosion, and this time we are using military explosives, which is definitely safer." "What?" Sophia raised her voice, incredulous. "Military explosives?" "That's right, military explosives." Little Gilbert nodded affirmatively. Generally speaking, the explosives used by the crew for filming are burned to produce pressure and explode, which is much less powerful than military explosives. So, in some explosion shots, if you want to create a bigger explosion effect, you have to fill it with dirt and dust. After detonation in this way, it will produce the effect of smoke and dust flying all over the sky, and the visual effect is good. But if it is a real house, you must use high-performance military explosives, otherwise you will not be able to blow up the house. After listening to Little Gilbert explain the principle, Sophia was dumbfounded. "Won't Charles and Kane stop you?" "That's the highlight of the film, so they..." Little Gilbert didn't finish his words, just spread his hands, but Sophia knew what Little Gilbert meant. She muttered, "Crazy, all crazy." However, the crazier scenes are yet to come. After more than 2 hours of preparation, the pyrotechnic explosion team finally finished wiring, and the scenery team renovated the exterior of the house to make it look like an inhabited house. Cameras were set up in a secure location on the perimeter of the house, and Little Gilbert checked them one by one to make sure there were no problems with the shooting angle. With all the preparations ready, Little Gilbert woke up Scarlett Johansson, who was asleep in the car, and handed her a pair of earplugs. "Is the explosion about to start?" The little girl slept in a daze, and was a little sleepy. Of course, Little Gilbert helped Scarlett Johansson plug her earbuds. "Open your mouth for a while. Don't be afraid, we're safe." Scarlett smiled sweetly. "Don't worry, I won't be nervous." Little Gilbert raised an eyebrow, and when the time came, it would explode, but it would be difficult to say. "Everyone get back 200 feet. Clear?" "Clear." "Director, it's cleared." "Okay, wait for my command. Count down tens of seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, boot, 3, 2, 1, detonate." With Little Gilbert's order, Tony Ridley, the director of the explosion stunt, pressed the wire switch, and the command traveled with the current to the detonation switch in the house. There was a loud bang. Boom. And then the skyrocketing fire rushed to the sky more than 30 meters with the roof, and the earth trembled. The house disintegrated in an instant under the tremendous power of the explosives. Debris flew everywhere, and the air was filled with a heat wave generated by the high temperature, which could be clearly felt by the crew from 200 feet away. Oh God, what am I seeing?" Sofia Coppola kept drawing a cross on her chest and praying. Scarlett Johansson was completely dumbfounded, as if she had seen a picture from hell. Then the little girl's mouth opened, tears flowed down her eyes, and then she threw herself into Sofia Coppola's arms, crying and crying. Sofia glared at Little Gilbert. "It's all a good thing you did." Little Gilbert was innocent, and Scarlett had to follow him to see it. And it's the same as setting off fireworks during the New Year, but the scene is a little bigger. It is estimated that it was an astonishing explosion scene that caused great damage to the little girl's psyche, and it was already a few days before she saw Scarlett again. In that explosion scene, according to little Gilbert's idea, there was actually a shot of an internal explosion. However, when he came up with the idea, it was opposed by the two producers. After all, a high-speed wireless camera is not cheap. It blew up in order to shoot a shot, and the crew couldn't afford it. Little Gilbert thought about it too, so after filming the external explosion, the internal explosion scene was filmed with a miniature. Compared to blowing up the entire house, shooting with a miniature is safer, but it is also more labor-intensive. After all, if you want to shoot realistically, you can't do it without putting some effort. Fortunately, the crew, which was fully supported by the Industrial Light and Magic Special Effects model team, made a shot of the explosion of the miniature model, which was enough to satisfy little Gilbert. Looking at the little girl on the side, little Gilbert thought that she was also a Hollywood goddess in her previous life, so she asked, "Scarlett, are you interested in playing a role?" Scarlett Johansson was hit by a surprise that fell from the sky, and she pointed her little finger at herself, unable to believe it. "Can I?" "Of course." Gilbert Jr. turned to Sofia Coppola and said, "You can also make a cameo appearance." Sofia Coppola thought about it and refused. "Forget it. I'm the worst supporting actress in Jean Sume." It seems that Sofia Coppola cares about this matter, otherwise she would not still be haunted by it. Didn't calculate, and little Gilbert didn't force it, and quickly arranged a scene for Scarlett Johansson to play. So Scarlett Johansson starred in the first movie in her life, the first role, a little girl who was almost hit by a bus. Click. "Yes," said little Gilbert, clapping. "Scarlett, you've made it all." "That's really good." Naomi Watts patted Scarlett's head and complimented, "Scarlett did a great job." Scarlett shook her head disapprovingly and shook Naomi Watts' hand away. This woman always used the excuse of helping little Gilbert massage and get into his trailer at noon, and Scarlett was already dissatisfied. Naomi Watts didn't care. Today was not only the day of Scarlett's completion, but also the day of her completion. Naomi Watts walked up to little Gilbert and thanked him. "Thank you, little Gilbert. Without your help, I might have returned to Australia a long time ago." "You're welcome." Little Gilbert patted the petite woman on the shoulder. "And your massage skills are good." "Really?" Naomi Watts looked at little Gilbert with blue eyes. "Then you have to come to my house often. I have more massage skills." "Okay, it must be," Gilbert Jr. agreed. Naomi Watts often stays with little Gilbert under the pretext of massage. With such a delicate beauty beside him, little Gilbert certainly couldn't sit still. One day at noon, while the crew was eating, little Gilbert was in the trailer and discussed massage techniques with Naomi Watts. After that, Naomi Watts went in and out of the trailer where Gilbert Jr. was resting and left in a car after work. The crew saw it in their eyes and didn't say much. They have seen a lot of such things. The last person to be in and out of the director's trailer like this was Cameron Diaz. However, Cameron Diaz has been a little busy lately, shooting commercials, attending commercial events, and taking on an important role in a movie. With the influence of Gilbert Jr., Cameron Diaz's star career looks like it is about to officially start. Although the crew has no opinion, Scarlett Johansson is not happy. I saw her pull little Gilbert's trouser leg and say, "Little Gilbert, I can also give you a massage." Little Gilbert was stunned for a moment, and then laughed, and the crew laughed along. Scarlett was curious. "What are you all laughing at?" "I often massage my mom." Sofia pulled Scarlett aside and said, "Scarlett, massage is not what you think." "What does that mean?" "That and that." Sofia didn't know how to explain this to the little girl for a long time, So she had to say, "Anyway, you'll know when you grow up." Do you have to wait to grow up? Scarlett Johansson looked disappointed, but that's a long time to wait. It's true that it's going to take a long time, but Scarlett Johansson often follows Sophia to the crew, and she is already very familiar with little Gilbert. It seems that the intersection of the little girl and the little Gilbert will not be less in the future. After Naomi Watts finished, the crew continued to be filmed. Naomi Watts plays a small role, and although little Gilbert adds a lot of scenes to her, it is still not the main role and is not important enough. Christmas and New Year were simply passed, and the short vacation gave the crew members a rare rest surrounded by endless explosions. Little Gilbert prepares a Christmas present for Scarlett Johansson, a mermaid pillow from Robert Iger. The little girl didn't seem to like it very much, but she didn't spoil the fun and thanked little Gilbert very politely and accepted the gift. Little Gilbert also gets to know Scarlett's mother, a broad old compiler. After divorcing Scarlett's father, she took Scarlett and her younger brother to live in Los Angeles and look for a job by the way. Miss Sloane, are you familiar with Chicago? During the small talk, little Gilbert asked this question. Melanie Sloane, as one of the Broadway's compilations, is certainly familiar with this classic review. I've seen several shows in New York, so of course I'm familiar with them, she laughs. Little Gilberton nodded and secretly wrote down that maybe he could ask Melanie Sloane to help him get the rights to adapt Chicago in the future. Many Hollywood movies are not original. They either have original novels, TV episodes, or original dramas. Although he is a reborn, little Gilbert cannot bypass the original drama of the novel series and come out with his own original. Therefore, some copyrights should be started early, just like The Lord of the Rings, which needs to be grabbed in advance. If you can't grab it, it means that this project has no chance with Gilbert Jr. As one of the classic Broadway plays, Chicago is naturally the target of Gilbert Jr. Christmas and New Year, 1993 officially arrived. The crew of Speed of Life and Death ended their short vacation and continued to devote themselves to filming. All the scenes in the studio have been filmed, and the rest of the footage has been moved to Highway 105 and 110. Next, there is the footage of drag racing, which requires a stuntman to get on the body. Keanu Reeves is obviously not Tom. Although the two are similar in appearance, it is still too difficult for him to let Keanu Reeves personally participate in drag racing. Moreover, the driver of this play is Annie, played by Sandra Bullock. However, the internal shots of the drag racing scenes have been almost filmed, and the external drag racing scenes don't need the leading actors to come, just the stuntmen. But the actors also have to go up to pose and shoot close-ups from time to time. As Gilbert Jr. intended, a high-speed camera was set up on the car to follow the footage of the tires rubbing against the ground. Similar shots, in Hollywood more than 10 years later, belong to the kind that has been played badly. But in 1993, such a lens was a new idea, and the photographer Durr Randolph was shocked as soon as it was proposed. Charles Rowan, of course, was still opposed to setting up an expensive high-speed camera rack to shoot in a car, but little Gilbert pajamased Charles Rowan in a stripper. The next day, Charles Rowan came to the set with his waist on his back and said to little Gilbert, "Hey, little Gilbert, we can't do this anymore. We've damaged 3 cameras this month." Little Gilbert smiled and said, "Charles, is your waist okay?" "Of course I'm fierce." Charles Rowan crunched as soon as he straightened up. He hurriedly held his waist and wailed, "Oh no, my waist seems to be broken." Of course, the waist was not broken, but it suddenly straightened up and was strong, flashing the waist. Kane Wexman smiled. "Charles, it seems that yesterday's strippers were strong enough to break your waist." "That's..." Charles Rowan looked reminiscative. "Why don't you try it too?" "Don't." Kane Wexman shook his head. I'm too old to afford this thrill. Outside of work, a joke can also help lighten the mood. Today's filming is another big scene, that is, the scene where the bus flies over the bridge. In fact, according to Charles Rowan's suggestion, this one is also more reliable for model shooting. But little Gilbert believes that if you can shoot in real time, you can't play false. He placed 2 cameras directly on the inside of the car, on the tires on the side of the outside, 3 cameras on the broken bridge, and a drone to shoot at low altitudes. Multi-angle and multi-position shooting, giving the audience a big one. Before filming, little Gilbert asked the crew to carefully check to ensure that it was safe and that the position of the camera would not be a goof. Check it all out. Be sure to check it carefully. I don't want any problems. Little Gilbert commanded the crew and shouted loudly. The crew was busy with work, and little Gilbert got on the bus again and said to the stunt rider, "You must be careful when driving. The speed must exceed 60 miles before the bus can fly over, and you can't slow down, you know." The stunt rider made an okay gesture to show that he understood. No amount of preparation and inspection can guarantee that there will be no problems. But preparation and inspection are necessary to check the probability of problems to near zero. There were no accidents in this shooting. After little Gilbert gave the order, the stunt rider drove the bus, according to the established route, jumped over the jump on the broken bridge, flew to the broken bridge on the opposite side, landed smoothly, and galloped away. The camera faithfully recorded this scene, the camera under the jump, the camera on the side, the camera in the front and back, including the drone, all faithfully recorded this amazing shot. Sophia didn't call God anymore, and after experiencing the scene where the house was blown up into the sky, it was not unusual for her to play any tricks with little Gilbert. During a shoot, she said to little Gilbert, "Actually, you don't understand film art at all." Little Gilbert was stunned for a moment and asked, "Why do you say that?" Sophia said, "The films you shoot are either full of horror elements, or they are bombed, and there are non-stop drag racing scenes, and there is no in-depth study of the inner world of the characters." Little Gilbert smiled dumbly and then explained, "Sophia, what you said about exploring the inner world of the characters is an independent film thing. I make commercial films, and I shoot whatever the audience likes to watch." Sophia was speechless. She kind of understood the difference between her and little Gilbert's ideas in filmmaking. However, this does not affect her to continue to work with little Gilbert anyway. The salary is not cheap, and her expenses are not small, so she needs this job. If she had the opportunity, Sophia still hoped that she could direct films independently and become an admired female director like Catherine Byrog. The filming of Speed of Life and Death is nearing the end, and under the arrangement of Warner Pictures and Disney, the news of Speed of Life and Death finally appeared in the media. However, even with little Gilbert in charge, Keanu Reeves has also gone through the small fire of 400 years of vampire zombie horror, and the attention he has still attracted is still not enough. Fans still pay more attention to those big productions, especially Jurassic Park, which released a trailer for the first time. Gilbert Jr. has long communicated with Disney Warner, and Speed of Life and Death has long been scheduled to be released in the summer. It's a pity that such a commercial masterpiece is not placed in the summer file. In order to avoid a collision with Jurassic Park, Gilbert Jr. inquired about the news in advance, but Spielberg put the film on June 11th. According to the production schedule of Life and Death, the film can be released in early May, more than a month before Jurassic Park, which is quite safe. In addition, during the production of the film, Gilbert Jr. and Charles Rowan discussed the publicity strategy. "I think the film could have had a trailer on the Super Bowl halftime commercial." Little Gilbert came up with ideas. Charles Rowan and Kane Waxman looked at each other, clearly shocked by the idea of Gilbert Jr. Seeing that the two looked stupid, little Gilbert explained, "What is the essence of the movie? It's a commodity, right? Seeing that the two nodded, Gilbert Jr. continued. Since it is a commodity and requires the audience to buy tickets, is there any problem with advertising in the Super Bowl? Watches, computers, cars, and even condoms can be advertised, and it doesn't make sense that movies can't be advertised. Little Gilbert, you. Charles Rowan was so shocked for a moment that he was speechless, and only after a while did he say, "You are simply a genius." Thanks, everybody says so. Little Gilbert was not happy to hear the compliment, but asked, "What do you think? What do you think?" Charles Rowan and Kane Watchman looked at each other, and Charles Rowan said, "We need to talk to the company about whether it's feasible." "Okay then, tell me the results sooner," Gilbert Jr. said. The idea was put forward by him, but the final implementation still depends on the publicity and distribution department of the film company. Super Bowl advertising isn't cheap and sought after, so if you're determined to run ads, act fast. If memory serves, the 1993 Super Bowl halftime show will be Michael Jackson, a pop superstar. It was the pop superstar who took the Super Bowl stage to bring the Super Bowl halftime show to the world. On the other side of the Pacific Ocean, it is even jokingly called the North American Spring Festival Gala. And in terms of excitement, the Super Bowl halftime show in just 10 minutes is much more interesting than the Spring Festival Gala, which is getting more and more boring decades later. Obviously, the Super Bowl could not have predicted that its future Super Bowl halftime advertising would be so popular, and although the current advertising price is not cheap, it is far from sky-high. Advertising on it, in Gilbert's opinion, is well worth it. When the time comes, the attention of this Super Bowl halftime show will be full, and the advertising space will be simply worth the money.